You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
And welcome back. Here's a look at some of the political headlines of the past week. The legal tug of war over whether or not Texas voters will be able to vote by mail continues. A federal district judge granted a preliminary injunction saying anyone who wanted to vote by mail to avoid catching coronavirus could do so. But the very next day, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals temporarily stopped that ruling from taking effect. Separate case also pending in the Texas Supreme Court. And the governor also announced that the Department of Public Safety will begin opening driver's license offices on Tuesday. They're asking folks to use an online appointment system, and for now, they're only scheduling people who don't have a driver's license, a CDL, a learner's permit, or ID card, and those who need a driving test can get one of those. Another order from the governor confirms something we've been talking about here as a possibility. State agencies have been told now to trim their budgets to make up for tax revenue lost to coronavirus. Now, a Lubbock lawmaker is hoping this becomes a trend that extends to local governments as well. Here's KAMC's Matthew Stell.
If you don't plan for tomorrow by making spending cuts today, you get yourself boxed in, and I think this was the right move, and I think it's the right thing to do.
State Representative Dustin Burrows is on board with the plan requiring state agencies to cut their budgets by 5%.
I think it's the prudent choice from just a financial planning aspect, but it's also the right choice. Where you have governments at all levels who ask people to sacrifice, you need to see government returning and sacrificing the same as well.
The directive comes in a letter straight from what's been referred to as the Big Three: Abbott, Patrick, and House Speaker Dennis Bonnen.
We'll be very happy that we have strong fiscal conservatives that want to make sure that we do not raise taxes.
They've instructed state agencies, including colleges and universities, to find ways to cut expenses that aren't considered mission critical, such as unnecessary travel and leaving non-essential positions unfilled.
Money doesn't grow on trees. This is the taxpayers' money, to begin with, and we should be doing less with more, especially in these sorts of times.
Agencies such as DPS, State Health Services, and the Workforce Commission are exempt from the directed cuts. But Burrows is afraid some local governments won't follow suit.
People are going to use this to raise taxes on Texas where they can afford it the least. And that's the wrong policy. Quite frankly, I think it's a little bit shameful, to be honest with you.
And Burrows has hope that this plan will be one of many roads that will lead towards restoring the Texas economy.
I'm an optimist. We will come back. We will get through this. I mean, we farm in a place that, farming shouldn't be there. This is the entrepreneurial spirit is right here in West Texas. The quicker we get, more businesses back up and allow them the tools to figure this out, the stronger and quicker we'll get back our economy and where it needs to be.
Matthew Still, KAMC News.
Matthew mentioned the list of those trimming 5% includes Texas Tech. President Lawrence Skubinik says they're working that out right now, as well as figuring out what's going to happen on campus this summer and this fall. He spoke with KAMC's Kelsey Pittman earlier this week, and she started by asking how social distancing can be implemented in classrooms this fall.
We have to be very concerned about how we control how many people are in a room. And to do that, that means if we have typically a larger course, it may have to be broken up into smaller groups, or one day you have a face-to-face experience with an instructor, the other days it would be online. Also, we're looking at the possibility there might be shorter compressed periods in which a student might be enrolled in only one or two courses, but taking those for several hours a day. All of these are measures by which we hope to reduce the density of students and faculty and staff that are on the campus.
Have the students already applied for these classes and they could possibly change, or how does that work?
We'll need to firm up these decisions in the next month or so. Now, what we have decided for the summer is that summer one will be totally online. And by polling the departments, we identified, I believe it's 25 to 30 courses that that departments and programs felt needed to be offered face-to-face.
And that's for
a very limited number of, we're all, yes.
Okay.
And so we're looking at that as an opportunity to test, as kind of a test bed, to test the policies and the practices and the protocols we would try to implement on a larger scale in the fall.
Other thing, obviously, y'all talked about is dorm rooms. So talk about those kind of options you're looking for.
We actually have very robust numbers for registration for dorms and for enrollment in the summer and the fall. We'll have to see if they hold up through the summer. But for instance, our occupancy in the dorms was slightly over 99%. And at that point, we realized that was not an acceptable situation. So we reduced the number of beds in rooms where there's triple or quads. And we're in the process of trying to provide for arrangements for those students. But we don't feel that would be safe to have that many students in a room. And so we're trying to control the level of occupancy in the dorms for the obvious reasons, and in order to ensure the aspects of social distancing as much as we can.
If they're having to move off campus, is it going to be obviously the same price and things like that, or is that going to have to change for how much they're paying? And then obviously, there's so many positives of living on campus, they're going to obviously lose that.
I'm not prepared to say what sort of dining plan might be available to them. If they intended to live on campus, then that's not possible. But I would say that everything's on the table. We'll do everything we can to alleviate the financial burden on students, just as we did this spring when we provided a prorated rebate of the housing and a refund of dining dollars. So
I know y'all talked a little bit about football season, and he said maybe y'all aren't even ever looking at canceling it, maybe just pushing back. Will you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Well, so the Kirby Holcutt, our athletic director, has discussed a regular scheduled season starting at the regular day. You might have a full season with a delayed date. Maybe there would only be a conference season, or there could be a delayed conference season, or there could be an interrupted season. And there could be a season that extends into the spring. And I know these are the answers we've been giving for some time, and that may be frustrating to others. But you have to understand that these are not decisions we make by ourselves. When we decided to reopen, that was a Texas Tech decision. When it comes to athletics, you have a conference, and the conference members have to agree. And then between conferences, the commissioners need to be communicating and deciding what's possible. So there are many moving pieces to this. I think the most immediate decisions that we've identified is when might the athletes be able to come back and begin to train in our facilities. And we have definite thoughts about how that would be done. Athletic Director Holcutt has appointed a task force that are looking into how that would be managed. He has appointed task force that are looking at how you would manage the game day environment. We understand that there would most likely be limits on capacity, but how do you manage entering the stadium, leaving the stadium, and ensuring that social distancing could be respected? There's a lot of moving pieces. It's a very fluid situation, and I would just ask for people's patience as we move forward with this.